Alright, here we go again. Same disclaimer as usual. I swear a lot. I'm not politically correct. Generally, I will say things that are not appropriate to have your kids listening to my videos. So, don't. Or just don't bitch about it. But I told you so. Tonight, I'm going to build a test harness. Since I sold a couple on eBay, and I've actually been short them using this stupid ass wired harnesses, which kind of annoy me and don't seem to work as well anyways, but that's for a different video. I'm sure somebody out there will piss and moan and go, how come yours isn't wired? How can it work? The Commodore one has wires, and how can yours work without them? Well, you have to have the keyboard plugged in order for it to actually work. And if you're testing your CIA chips without your keyboard dongle, I don't know how you're getting a clean 6526 diagnostics, but that's just me. So on that note, we'll get the show on the road here. I will first start by building the floppy test, IEC port if you want to call it that. Grab some flux, grab a Q-tip, flux up the pins. We're going to move the camera. There we go. Throw some flux on those pins, because these chromed, if you want to call them that, connections don't take solder very well. Clean your tip. If you don't have one of these, I'm going to say this every time for a while, buy one of these. I've been using the same tip for thousands and thousands and thousands of connections. Now we're going to tin the ones we need, which is the top two. And the two underneath the left side. I've 3D printed what's called a potato for doing this. It's just a female jack, which I can slide my connector into so I don't melt my pins, and I also don't get them unaligned. That way they're guaranteed to plug in. Now what I use for this is just some leads I've clipped off of LEDs or whatever I have not, that I usually stick in a bin. Grab them, throw some solder on them, solder it as such. I'll show you. I'm sure you're being fucking nosy and wondering where it's going or what it looks like after I put the second one on. Doesn't really matter how long they are because it's close together. So just another day in paradise here. Just making it clean. Okay. Snip the extra off. Give or take the flux. That is what it looks like. If you're doubting if my soldering is strong enough, I generally test it by pulling the connector out by it. Then this goes into here. Let's see if we can't make that a little bit nicer. No, we don't need to see my stomach. Just what I'm soldering on. That's better. This. Pay attention. We'll go into here, only one way. This goes suchly. Bend your pin out a little so its hood stays on. Throw the hood on. One down. I usually have a little bend to put these in, but I guess we can use my soda cup holder. 3D printed soda cup holder, so I don't spill shit on my bench. I can put it over here for now. Put that in there. We take care of the heavy soldering first. Why, I don't know. Just the way I've done it. Tip clean. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And if you're wondering, yes, I can solder them that fast after making 200 plus of these. 2 down for now. Make sure we're recording. One, 2, 3, 4. I mean, you get the general idea. I don't need to count them off to you every time. But, again, we're working on a budget here. We do not have the bells and whistles and dumb shit that you get in a lot of the videos, because that stuff gets old. I don't know about you, but I generally don't want to see nonsense just for the sake of it making your video longer. Off topic shit. Well, I guess sometimes I rant. That's 2 down. Best way to do these is to push one side of them in on something stiff, like the corner of the bench. That way it's going to crimp on the connection. Again, after doing like 200 plus of these things, you just get into the habit of not needing little things like helping hand devices, people that are gonna come on the set just to look pretty, make cute noises, you know. Not that we would, you know, think that that's a bad idea. I mean, I guess if you are looking to be entertained by Disney World and people that go, look at what I got, look at my stuff. My stuff is cool, because I've spent a lot of money letting people know how cool my stuff is. With virtually no effort put into learning. Okay, one more down. Show you my shitty soldering job if it ever focus. But anybody that's bought one of these harnesses knows my quality of work. And we'll do this side ladder iron down. I can probably talk while I'm doing this, since you don't need a play-by-play on soldering 25 pins. I started all of this crap in 81, 82-ish. I will not inform you on how old I was then. Very young. With a VIC 20. First thing I did, tear it apart. Second thing I did, program it. Wrote my own programs, because as Poe, I would see the advertisements for the games, and then I would write the game. If I had all of my discs, it would be fascinating for me to go back and see just how 8 or 10-year-old me coded. But unfortunately, college happened, stuff gets stored, people move, stuff's not necessarily as important to you at times of your life. And needless to say, they've either disappeared or they're buried so far into my parents' basement of shit that I wouldn't be able to find them. But I'd see the Atari commercials like Kaboom on TV, and I would decide I was going to write it. I did Kaboom, I did Breakout, VIC 20 versions. I did a really shitty version of Pac-Man that I won't admit to if I ever did find the code for that. And the Space Invaders, keeping in mind my coding was not as efficient in the beginning. And you try fitting the code in BASIC in 5K on a VIC 20. Not easy. Many times I had to reassess my coding. That's why I got decent at it. This is the user port. And another one done. One left. Clean the soldering iron, set it down. And this is the keyboard plug. Easiest way to do this, solder one in the middle so it holds. Solder one on the end so that you can align it. Solder the other end. Turn it sideways and just fill them in. So, from the VIC-20, I absolutely had to have a Commodore 64. Which, hindsight, how the freaking hell did my parents afford it? I had a cassette deck with my VIC, but they managed to get me eventually a 1541. Actually, I stand corrected. It was a 1540 initially, which must have had the correct BIOS, or should I say kernel, because the original 1540 should not have worked properly on my Commodore 64 also. But it did. So I'm guessing that one had the corrected chip, because the VIC-20's floppy drive was actually faster than the Commodore 64's floppy drive, and the Commodore 64 could not keep up with it. And it's a keyboard adapter soldered. Okay. Then dump them all out again. Now it's time for resistors. If I can get them organized. Yep, I need that 150, I need the 300 ohm, 330, 680s, I need that. And I need the 100k ohm. Alright. We'll start with 100k ohm. We happen to need 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of them. Because the game ports, control ports, use 2 of them each. Throw them in, then the pins over, like so. We do all of one resistor value at a time. That way we know we're putting stuff in the right place. Put them at 680 ohm. Gonna be 5 of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's going to protect the LEDs from burning out. So where was I? Commodore 64. A lot of programming on the Commodore 64, but the Commodore 64 was my introduction to the users groups. I went from writing most of my software to carrying around boxes of 100 floppies to meetings. The most current stuff that we had. So programming took more of a backseat as stuff got more sophisticated and the games were very, very much research resource oriented, you needed to have some serious time on your hands. Now I get a 330 ohm resistor. Only need one of those on the cassette port dongle. I believe that protects the motor. Send them over. 150 ohm. One of these. It's also for the cassette dongle. Put them in, bend them over. Okay, let's see. That concludes the resistors. Sidetracked. Now, LEDs. I can pick any color we want. Let's see. Since these are green ones, we'll go with red. Very Christmas-esque. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's all we need for those. Put these in. Short lead, long lead, and an LED. Long lead, positive. That's all you need to remember. Long lead's positive. So where was I? Oh, Commodore 64 users groups. That's where we got our first taste of the hardware that we would never be able to afford until we're adults and we start hoarding them because we could not have them as a kid. I've seen people with fast load cartridges. I've seen people with SX64s. I see people with MSD2 drives and all kinds of special hardware. That, like, you know, capture cards that we have to have now, like ice pick sort of type cards. Shit ton of cartridge games. Okay, now I'll throw some solder on these. Do them in stages. Okay. No particular order. I'll generally get some solder on the joints. And then make sure they've been heated properly to sink down into the through hole. One down. A few to go. So anyways, back where I was, I'm losing my train of thought. Yeah, I know you can't see what I'm soldering. Get over it. I show you when I'm done. It's good enough. See? Still got the leads on it. Throw back in the pile. Again, I've done over 200. I've lost track at about 200 of these kits. Most of the people in the groups have got them by now, so it's not quite as many people is when I was first doing these. There would be nights that I would get 10 orders and spend the night burning myself because I was so tired and wanted to get them into people's hands. One more cassette, yeah. Here we go. Yeah, I'm tired if you're wondering. How about we'd say game port test. Yeah. And there we go. And we're down to the keyboard plug. So back to my story. Beyond boring, but you know, sometimes people are interested in what the hell happened to me and why I ended up where I am. Why I do what I do. Went to college. Had a lab for Commodores 64s, and because I pissed my lab teacher off by correcting him in logic classes a number of times, I was banished to the Commodore lab to forever spend my logic labs fixing CIA chips and SID chips in computers that everybody would static zap because nobody had a freaking clue then to protect them or leave something plugged into them. Now, really sharp pair of wire cutters is needed. Do not get your wire cutters at Harbor Freight, because if you do, you will know exactly why you don't. Set a, I think they're Crescent. Yes, Crescent. Home Depot. All nicely soldered, clean. Back in the bucket with you. If you're wondering why I clip the leads with my finger on them, if you've ever had a lead go into something that shouldn't and short something out, you'll know. And I got a few leads. This is since the last time I dumped them out. Okay. Joystick port number 2. You know why I use these sharp ones? Look how good that snips them off. Very sharp. Stay still. So, my stint in the lab fixing Commodore 64s that I think kids intentionally blew up lasted an entire semester. It's not often these days that you see a full chip holder of SID chips or pile of 6526 chips, all brand new, and that's the last one of those. We are going to test these first before I make the cartridges. Get these out of here. Okay. Got the old Zeph 64 out. These are going to eventually be cartridges in the cases. And let's get this hooked up. This goes here. And goes there. And we got the audio there. I'm going to use my regular diagnostics. We're going to switch to picture-in-picture. And this is where it gets exciting. We're going to connect all these up. User port. Joystick port. Joystick port, keyboard, cassette, IEC, hopefully she fires up because it's always banged around, and with so many zip sockets and so many socketed chips. And the power plug. And we'll turn the power supply on. And here we go. And of course, I do not have video due to something not playing nice in my socketing. Always good to make sure that your stuff is working before you apply the power. Right. That's where it gets interesting. Let's see. Let's test our regular video with our monitor. We got no video. That is interesting. Oh, that chip wasn't seated. Again with the brain fart. All right. Helps if you have the source proper on your TV. And do. And we're going to see what's up. And of course, when I'm not paying attention, it comes on because it was loose in my SCART to HDMI. Can't make this shit up. Okay. Sad part is you probably knew it was working before I did. Okay, there we go. Alright. Let's put the IEC plug back in. Do the old Hail Mary. Turn this back on. Got lights on everything. We'll go right to the computer. And we'll make a pass. So anyways, while this is going, I'll bore you with some more of my back history. In the lab, they noticed I was getting bored pretty quick, so they sent me to build projects. I built an automated signal light for the lab, full-size signal light, run off of the user port by poking and using transistors to control the lights. And actually on screen had a little scene where the cars would drive around and have to stop for the lights, and the signal light would change. And had a presentation for it with an open house, and people didn't grasp it, how much had gone into controlling this with a simple computer. All they seen was traffic light. As you can see, we have a clean pass, other than some anomaly where I apparently was leaning on the computer, it seemed. CIA's all the same. Character ROM, fine. Everything's good to go. The only thing we need is sound. Helps if you plug it in. We'll let one more pass go through. I can see my capture flickering. That's not my computer. That's my capture system. I'll have to address that at some point, apparently. Kind of interesting. The kernel is unknown because it's a Jiffy DOS. And this is only the 2.2.0 star version. But as you can see, all good. One harness complete. Go back to there. And that is going to complete building of the dongles. Now we're going to turn this off. Go back to just the bench. And kill the power. Take the dongles out. Since they're all built for the customer, put them all in here. So when I box them up, we have them all in one place. Take this out. Actually, I spoke too soon. Disassembled it too soon. Let's plug this back in. I need to test my ROMs before I get ahead of myself here. Okay, I have pre-done cartridge with some sockets, which I don't use sockets when I put them together. Tough shit if you want to change them. Desolder them. I don't know what to tell you. But this little rig lets me put the dead test into the socket. And the diagnostics EEPROM that I've burnt previously. Because I do not have a capture on my regular computer. But they go in such. Now, we'll go back to the picture-in-picture. Actually, why don't we just flip it up? We'll go to the computer. Put the diagnostics in. Turn it on. Good chip. Alright. And stuttering video. Awesome. Well, we figured out the problem. Gonna get some more CPU power. But needless to say, that works. We'll turn it off. Some serious lag induced. Now we'll go with the dead test. That's going to take a minute to come up. I actually put the webcam in picture-in-picture. And there's the dead test, so our ROMs are good. And one more, which is a non-Ultimax, which is like the diagnostics cartridge. Don't try this at home. I'm a trained professional at pulling chips out without using the proper tool. By trained professional, I mean lazy ass, because it's over there and it's buried underneath my shit. Okay, and this is the 1541. We'll test. Did it not burn? Did you not burn it? The ROM? Or did he bend the pen? This is why you check your ROMs before you solder them. Let's burn it again. Alright. You'll fight with me? You'll fight with me. Be right back. Put it in here. So, file. Open. 1541 diag. Device. Program. Okay, well that's programming. Put this diag back. Put this dead test back. Okay, it says programming successful, which means it was supposed to be verified. Goes into the diagnostics spot. We put it in here once again. And it works. Sometimes the EEPROMs are stubborn. Alright, good to go. All 3 ROMs we need are present and accounted for. Take this, get rid of this. Okay. Now we take our blanks and we solder the chips in the blanks. Not too much excitement there. And 1541 cover and 3D printed cover for this. I'll show you how they go in. Fit nicey nice. Designed these cases myself specifically for these boards. I'm not going to bore you with soldering a bunch of chips on it, but you get the general idea. Diagnostics, dead test, 1541. So, to make a long story short, went from the Commodore 64 to the Commodore 128, which I promptly used 99.9% in 64 mode, unless I was on the BBS's in 80 column mode using Bob's term on a bank monitor that had burn-in that said insert card here and had no case over it. Again, budget. But this is what the kit looks like. Give or take the chips soldered into them. And I think we can and yes, it's magnetic. Alright, shortly after the 128, got tied up with college and work, and that was it for a while until I got back into it years later. If you find what I do mildly amusing, or have some suggestions, or just want to call me an asshole, feel free. I can be reached on most of the Facebook forums, and you can leave comments on my YouTube videos. And on that note, enjoy, and this is going to be shipped out to a customer, and I'm still not going to have an extra kit to test with.